Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. I'm your host, Kelly Loft, Athletic Communications Director at Southwest Minnesota State University. And thanks for joining us this week here at Studio One and online at SMSUmustangs.com. And got a busy show lined up for you this week. We're going to take a look at the highlights from the Mustangs' win over Upper Iowa and their tough loss to Winona State on Hawaiian night. And we also have a special guest, Jordan Miller, Mustang senior guard, will be joining us in studio as well later on in this episode. And as joining us, as always, is the head coach, Brad Bigler. And again, the Mustangs last week splitting a pair of home games. The Mustangs beating Upper Iowa convincingly 74-55. But on Saturday night, Winona State won their 12th straight game, beating the Mustangs 75-60. And Coach, it was kind of a tale of two different days for sure for the Mustangs. You really took it to Upper Iowa, a team that's been playing very well, and came back the next night and beat Sioux Falls. They're a very good basketball team, and from start to finish, you dominated the Peacocks. But on Saturday, kind of the same thing with Winona State. Flip-flop, they really took it to the Mustangs, and I got to give credit to the Warriors. They played really well.
And they did. I thought they were more physical than us throughout the night, and I thought they took us away a little bit of being able to score paint points. That's something that we've been able to do at a pretty high level throughout the season. And part of it, though, is our ability to finish. We had some good looks. We missed some layups in the first half where, as we've seen, if you miss layups, sometimes that leads to easy baskets on the other end, and I thought Winona really took advantage of those easy baskets.
And we'll talk much more about that Winona State game here shortly, but first let's go back to Friday night's game against Upper Iowa. You started off shooting very well from the field, over 56% in the first half. You limited the Peacocks to just 31% shooting and really set the tempo early on, and against a team that can be very hard to defend, and you guys did a very good job there on both ends of the floor, but especially on the defensive side.
Well, when you play against Upper Iowa, you know that they're going to be a structured offensive team, and to defend that, it's going to take a lot of discipline. I thought our guys came out, followed the game plan very well, was able to pressure when we needed to pressure, was able to beat them to spots throughout their offense. And I thought offensively we had a good tempo. We were attacking, we were aggressive to the rim. Our tempo was probably the key on Friday, where on Saturday we didn't have that same tempo. But against the Peacocks, again, I think a lot of it goes back to our defensive effort. Really applying a lot of pressure, finishing possessions with defensive rebounds, and then able to get out and run a little bit.
And points in the paint, the Peacocks outscored you by 14, but one that's kind of a misconception because you got to the free throw line, did a very good job, 18 of 22. Your team shot for the field in the contest, distributed the ball very well, 15 assists, and had a big rebound margin as well, 35-30 advantage. And you put all those numbers together, and you don't need to hit a lot of three-pointers when you're getting action to the rim and getting to the free throw line. And
I agree. I think just our overall movement of the basketball, guys finding people on cuts and driving and finding the open guy. I thought we did a great job. And then I just go back to defensively. I thought our energy on the basketball, we competed on the ball. Those combination of things made a big factor in the game. We're a big factor in the game. And on the defensive side, you had a lot of presence. Season high 10 block shots. Nick Smith had 5. Bernard Birch had 3 block shots in the game. You're not going to see that very often, but when they tried to get inside, you guys were there. And a lot of times block shots can be because you got beat on a shot and you're behind from them, but it seemed like all night long really disturbed Upper Iowa trying to get their offense going. Well, we've been talking a little bit more about being more active on the basketball, blocking shots, getting tips on balls, trying to make plays. I think we've improved in that area. We still have a ways to go if we want to be a great defensive team, but they know they have the freedom to go make plays, and now they have to be able to anticipate, and a block shot like from Bernard Birch, a lot of times it's a help side guy like Nick Smith coming over. They're trying to avoid Nick Smith, and then Bernard can time it and go make a play on the ball.
Yeah, and of course, after that win on Friday, you won 3 in a row. Take it on Winona State, a team that you lost in overtime, and I had a very good shot to beat the Warriors earlier in the month of January. But as you mentioned, the Warriors led from start to finish. You had a lot of runs in there. You got it down to 2 following a Miller three-pointer with about 10 and a half minutes to go, and then they locked you down for a little bit and held us scoreless for 4 minutes. And you mentioned Saturday morning how long the Warriors are, and they might not have a lot of flashy numbers, but they do the little things to keep balls alive and make it very hard offensively. And this is a team, the Mustangs, that shoot roughly over 50% a lot, and you're held to a season low 34%. And what was the difference in that game by the Warriors?
It was a combination of a few things. What I think Winona does maybe better than anyone that we've played this year is I think their role players truly buy into their roles, and they play to their strengths. Defensively, they're long. I mean, that's a tough lineup when they start 6'7", 6'8", 6'10". That's a lineup that a lot of teams are going to have trouble with. Very similar to a team we played earlier in the year with the Grand Canyon type matchup. And for us, we need to be able to utilize our speed versus them. So the pace of the game, we have to be able to run up and down a little bit. But I thought Winona did a great job of controlling the tempo. They were very physical on the boards. Defensively, they didn't get out and pressure us a bunch. They were kind of playing off us. And we have certain ways of attacking that. I thought there were times where we were driving in the paint and we were trying to score over two guys when we have kick-out options. We need to be able to see that better, and that'll relieve us some really pressure off our offense.
Yeah, some of the numbers in the contest for the Warriors, they had a 42-22 scoring points in the paint, points off turnovers 15-4, and the big number, fast break points 16-0, and that was just a lot of turnovers or missed shots. They'd send somebody down quickly, and they were just getting far too many baskets. Even though they were shooting under 40% for much of the first half, they still had a lot of pretty easy looks at that. When you made them play, made them stop and set their offense, you did have some success.
And I think that was a big factor in the game. When we were able to set up our defense, I thought we defended at a level where we could win the basketball game. It was those runouts, those leak-outs where, again, kind of covered earlier, but if you miss a shot within 5 feet, and it's easy to get out and run. It's easy for them to anticipate, and I thought a lot of our missed shots within about 5 feet turned into easy baskets on their end. I don't know if it was all 16 points, but it was definitely a majority of them.
Some of the numbers from the game on Saturday against Winona State. Before we take a look at the highlights, Mustangs, Jordan Miller had 17 points and 8 rebounds to lead the way for Southwest. Bernard Birch had 12, and Lavion West with 11 off the bench. In that Friday night game, 5 Mustangs in double figures. Miller with 18 points, 13 for Nick Smith, and he also had the 5 block shot, or he had 3 points, and 5 block shots. But Will Giddings had a very nice night, 13 points, hit 3 3-pointers, and Lavion West off the bench, 6 of 9, and had 14 points. So again, the Mustangs beat Upper Iowa on Friday night, and they fall to Winona State on Saturday for Hawaii night. There was lots of action to see throughout the day, and let's take a look at those highlights from the RA facility. We start off on Friday night as the Mustangs taking on Upper Iowa in Southwest. Mustangs in this first half, right to left in the white uniforms. And again, the Mustangs a very solid first half, shooting 56%. And there's Miller hitting a jumper for the Mustangs. And again, the Peacocks coming in playing very good basketball, Coach, and you outscore them 36-19 in that first half.
And we were able to change up some defenses on them. I thought our zone on Friday night was really successful. It kept them more so standing, and they weren't attacking the rim as much. Thought later on in the second half, especially, sometimes your defense looks a lot better when they just have a tough time making shots. And I thought Upper Iowa was a little off, had an off night, but we'll take advantage of it.
Here's Giddings drilling the first of his 3 3-pointers. That gave the Mustangs a 9-7 lead. And there's Birch making that extra pass. Got in trouble, got it back out. You reset the offense. And the Mustangs, again, with 4 of 8 from long range in the opening half. Great pass from Giddings and finding Smith for his lone basket of the game.
And you'll see our ability to get into our offense quickly. We were sharp on our cuts. And you see here Matt Zager with a nice cut, fine for Will Giddings, knocks down the open 3.
Giddings, that gave the Mustangs a 14-11 lead with just under 13 minutes left. Here's a steal and a layup by Matt Zager. The Mustangs lead 16-11 at the and one and made it 17-11 with the free throw. Continuing on, Lavion West with the tough 17-footer makes it 19-11 Southwest. And there's Miller driving and going with the reverse layup.
And on Friday night, Lavion really had the opportunity to catch the ball and then rise up into his 1 or 2 dribble pull-ups. I thought that gave us a spark in that first half. And when he's able to hit those mid-range jumpers, it just gives us a different dimension on the offensive end.
Another basket for the Mustangs. Tough hit. West with a jump shot. Mustangs just pulling away here in this first half. Led by 10 halfway through the opening half. Got it up to 16 with a late run. Following a West jumper, here's Giddings drilling another 3 for the Mustangs. Giddings perfect 3 of 3 from long range in the opening half. Great pass underneath. Zager with the basket off the pass from Miller. And here off a missed free throw by the Mustangs, you come down quickly and get a basket.
And as you'll see, I think in the second half, as we get to the second half clips, we really controlled the tempo and just to make great shot decisions, just like that. And Bernard Birch not settling for the open jump shot, but finding the layup. I think that's my favorite play in our system is that backdoor cut. You saw Miller finding Bernard Birch for the reverse layup.
Mustangs up by 14, and this jumper by West off the left elbow gives it a 32-16 lead for Southwest. Another missed free throw by the Peacocks. They were 9 of 18 in the game. Mustangs come away with the rebound, and you get a chance to add to this lead.
And this is end of the first half. Jordan finds a way to get an angle and knocks down that 3.
And the Mustangs, with that off-balance 3, take a 36-19 halftime lead. Peacocks made a run early in the second half, got it down to about 11 points with 14 minutes to go, but guys kept it going and pulled away to earn the victory. Mustangs, Miller there with the jump shot. SMSU, 53% shooting in the second half. Got to the line 19 times, made it 16 free throws.
Nice little inbound play where Jordan steps back to the corner off a screen, knocks it down.
Miller with a floater in the lane for 2 more for the Mustangs. That end out, nice pass by Smith. He had 3 assists in the game. Didn't score a lot, but as you mentioned, 5 block shots, 3 assists. Also had a couple of steals. A great pass underneath to find Zager. And the Mustangs cruising here in the second half. And here's Coach, a tough spot to inbound the basketball off a timeout, but you break the press beautifully and it gets your offense going quickly.
And you see Bernard Birch making the good decision right there, pulling it out. We end up getting a nice little pull-up jumper from Lavion West. And that's where we've seen improvement with Bernard and Trammell and being able to run the team. Just that vocal leadership is going to be key down the stretch.
Mustangs and 1 there for Birch. Gave the Mustangs an 18-point lead midway through the second half, and there's a 3 by Zager, up 57-36, and cruising from there. The Mustangs' ability to get to the free throw line as well. Miller, they're drawing the foul. It's a couple of free throws. You're up by 23 points. And then Giddings, almost a great finish there, and that gave the Mustangs a 25-point lead.
And you can see us here. We're getting some defensive stops and being able to get out in transition. If they were to score, then we're setting it up, taking high percentage shots, really eating that shot clock, shortening the game a little bit, and really being very efficient.
Mustangs got to empty the bench as well. Got to see Michael Apple play. Also, Tyler Prashon got a shot off. Yeah, we
are jokingly going to talk about that plus minus. Those last 2 minutes, those guys, Upper Iowa got the better of them a little bit, but that's okay.
He was able to get a lot of guys in there, and one guy we talked about the last few weeks that has gotten a lot more playing time, has done a very good job, and that's David Condon, the redshirt freshman, and he's had some big challenges, against Upper Iowa. They've got some skilled big men, and of course Winona State as well with Clayton Betty and some of those guys, and he did a nice job holding his own in both those games this weekend.
And against Upper Iowa, that's a team that really spaces it out. He did a good job of being active and covering a couple different locations on the defensive end. Against Winona, going up against Clayton Betty, I thought he was very physical. And as a matter of fact, he's the only guy on the team that had a positive plus minus when he was in the game. And it just goes to show sometimes it's those little things, it's those movements, the rebounding, the energy. I thought he had great energy versus Winona and played well.
Again, the Mustangs taking on the Warriors on Saturday night for a Hawaiian night. And let's take a look at those highlights from the RA facility. A great crowd at the RA on this night. Mustangs start out a little bit slow, fell behind 6-0, but there's a 3 by Miller, cutting the deficit in half. And Southwest just, Coach, really on offensive end all night long, just couldn't get much consistency. You shoot just 35% in the opening half. There's a big 3 by Giddings. There's only 3 of the night. But despite the poor shooting, you were there. It was a close contest for those first 30 minutes or so.
Well, and sometimes you hear that theme, and I've said it before, it's never as good as you think, and it's never as bad as you think. I was pretty emotional after the game. I was pretty frustrated. But after watching the film, we did get a lot of good looks, and now you have to be able to finish those looks. The other thing, if we ever get the opportunity to play Winona again, that open 15-foot pull-up jumper, that's something that our point guards are going to have to do to win that basketball game. They're going to have to be able to knock that down. There were times they were coming off the ball screen and not even looking at the rim. I think both of them are capable of knocking it down, and it's a matter of going out and doing it.
There's a 3 by Zager. Mustangs had 5 3-pointers in the game. And Mustangs trailed 37-30 at half. And Barnes, 15-footer, and he usually makes those when he's got that spot. Here's Nick Smith being patient and drawing a foul on Caleb Pelkert.
And I do believe that a tempo is a big factor in us being successful against Winona. If we're going to play a half-court game that's playing into their hands, we have to be able to run up and down a little bit, get into our offense, put pressure on them on the defensive end, make some plays. That we just have to have a quicker game, a lot more possession.
Mustangs trailed 37-30 at halftime. Got down by 10 in the first possession or so of the second half, but just kept battling back and got it trailed by 11 with 13:40 to go, but a big run, a 9-0 run, got you to within 2. And here's where the Mustangs are starting to make the run.
And it all started off with, again, just that tempo. Having a little bit better bounce in our step, that flow. Guys were pretty aggressive, driving and kicking. They were finding teammates better, and the ball movement was better, which I think if the ball movement is like that and we're able to attack off the drive with some better spacing, we're a tough team to defend.
Here's the Mustangs. They're down by 11. West couldn't get that layup to go, but he gets fouled, makes 2 free throws. Birch with the layup makes it a 7-point deficit. Jordan Miller drives to make it 5, and then Jordan with this big 3, and the Mustangs down by 2. And at this point, I think you feel pretty confident we can win this basketball game.
And again, you watch the clips. It's just that energy level's a little bit different, where I thought we were kind of flat in the first half. And sometimes when the ball doesn't go down, you have to find a way to still step up and find a way to have energy and make that hustle play. The second half, we were pressing. We were trying to make some plays, and that energy level was different.
So we had a look at the Upper Iowa and Winona State highlights from this past weekend, and we'll talk about the upcoming weekend versus Bemidji State and Minnesota Crookston here shortly. But joining us, we have a special guest in this week's episode, and that's Mustang basketball senior Jordan Miller. And Jordan, thanks for stopping by here this morning and talking with us and Coach Bigler. And one thing, we saw a lot of the highlights, and we talked about it earlier in the show with Coach Bigler, is about your leadership roles on this team. You're a fifth-year senior, and just kind of talk about, before we get into specifics of the season, but just, what's your role now as a fifth-year senior, the things that you've seen throughout your career, and what you bring to the table to help this team win each game?
Just try to bring it every day in practice. I mean, being a fifth-year senior, you see a lot of guys go through this program, and just being able to come to everyday practice.
Like Jordan said, I think that's one of the big things as a senior is being able to understand the leadership role with regards to being consistent. Bringing it every day of practice is one of those things where he's been through the grind. He knows that he's probably not going to be 100% majority of the year, but he has to find a way to, if it's 80%, bring that maximum 80% and make his teammates better.
One thing, Jordan, we should talk about that a lot of fans don't know is the games are probably sometimes easier than the practices. You guys really go at it in practice, and that's why through the years, it's when you're a freshman and rebounding prowess and through the Elite 8 years and last year's championship, just how we got after it. Kind of talk about how it is in practice, because it is not just kind of going through the motion. You guys are going full bore, and you do a lot of drills that you're diving on the floor and that type of thing.
Well, in practice we go through, every situation that we need to go through that, we have to do in games. So it's a grind. I mean, going through rebounding drills obviously is going to be a war every day. Going through offense and defensive drills every day is, it's a lot. It can be harder in games sometimes.
Yeah, one thing that we've talked about, I talked to Coach about, we go back to your freshman year, the red shirts, the scout team guys that are out there every day. Kind of talk about the things that they have to do and how important they are for you guys to get ready for each game, because you did that 4 years ago when you redshirted. That you don't get to play. They're a very important part of the team, and it helps you guys get ready each week.
As a redshirt, you got to come out actually with confidence, because you're going to be running a lot of different offenses and giving the teams good looks. So when you give the older guys, the guys that are playing their good looks, it's going to help them out in the weekend. So you're going to be, helping them out big ways if you come out and practice every day and play the way you need to play.
And we saw that, obviously, those guys doing a great job, and they'll be futures for the Mustangs. And we saw the highlights this last weekend, a tough loss against Winona, but prior to that, we had a 3-game winning streak, and obviously we know about the ups and downs of some of the games we've lost this year, but you showed the confidence beating Northern and Moorhead when the games were right down to the stretch. Obviously, it's tough to lose some of those games we did this year, but you guys have, I think, got over that hump now, and the Northern and Moorhead games prove that you can close out teams if you've got a lead late in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I believe we can. It just comes down to, doing the little things and just finishing games out.
Yeah. Why don't you talk real quick about that finish of the Northern game and finding Nick Smith, that perfect opportunity to just kind of talk about that play and what you saw?
Well, I guess it was a play that didn't work out, and we had to figure out what was going to happen from there. I got the ball in the corner, got doubled, bear saying. To be honest with you, it was almost luck. Threw the ball, hit Nick Smith in the chest. He caught it and laid it in. And then towards the end, obviously helped us out that he turned it over. So
yeah, and it was, as we saw last week's highlights, a kind of a broken down play. It was tipped around, and as Coach mentioned, it was a great play by you to not panic and find your open guy. And that's, I suppose, what comes from is just trust and practice and know that Nick's going to be there.
And many times that's where Jordan's going to be a big factor, is at the end of games where we will put the ball in his hands, and he's a very instinctive player. He has the ability to make his teammates better. As you saw the following night at Moorhead, towards the end of the game in overtime, where we put the ball in his hands, and you found Matt Zager cutting, you found Tremel Barnes cutting, and then he had the game-winning basket, so to speak, before the free throws with a layup that went under Alex Novak and a tough shot. But that's what we expect out of him. He's going to have the ball a lot in his hands at the end of games, and just to be able to make the right decision is going to be a key factor in our success.
Well, Jordan, there's a lot of basketball left to go this season, in the regular season and postseason, so we hope that continues. Before we let you go here on this week's show, kind of talk about what your future, your goals here, with school, when you'll graduate, and what you plan on doing here when your basketball career is over, and what the next step in life is.
Well, main goal obviously is to finish out the season strong. After that, I'm plan on graduating in May with a recreation major, coaching minor. Hopefully keep the dream alive and play basketball afterwards, but if that doesn't happen, I guess you got to go into the real world.
Yeah, it's overrated. No, the real world, I'm saying. No, but hopefully, do you want to get into coaching or teaching, or what kind of job field do you want to look into in the future?
I prefer coaching. Okay. Try to get to a higher level coach. So.
Yeah, and obviously basketball, a very important part of your family background. You've got a lot of guys in the family that have coaching, and I'm sure you've got those goals in mind as well. So thanks for stopping by this week. And Coach, best of luck this weekend, and both of you guys as we head north to Bemidji and Minnesota Crookston as the Mustangs continue conference play. And then we'll have 4 home games in the middle of February to wrap up the home regular season following this weekend's play in Bemidji and Crookston. For the head coach, Brad Bigler, and Jordan Miller, I'm Kelly Loft. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. Until next week, go Mustangs!